All right, we talk a lot about home ownership being rough, but my people who rent know that ain't no walk in the park either.
I could give you a whole list of reasons why I hate renting, but I think top of the list, if not close to the top of the list, would be the house inspections. I hate the fact that they can contact you and say, within 24 hours or within X amount of time, we're going to come round and do a house inspection. It feels like so intrusive and voyeuristic, like I'm an animal in the zoo. They're coming round to see how we live, to check.
Yo, okay. Okay, first of all, her accent made that whole post so much better. But yo, with owning a house, nobody comes into your house to see how you're living. That alone is a reason to pay more, to go through like the headache of qualifying and to deal with the issues that come with the house. Because you have that privacy. No one is coming into your place to tell you how to live and to monitor how you're living. I knew a property management company that came in pretty much every 6 weeks. Woo! Talk about overkill.
I feel like one of the ways that people enter homelessness that isn't talked about enough is when you have already gone through the process of finding an affordable place to rent and you're living there, and then your landlord sells the home to another landlord. That landlord comes, buys the home, does nothing to it, and then ups the price.
Yeah. Or they end up selling the house from up under you anyway, and you have to move out. So that is a real concern. But when it comes to home ownership, it's likely that your mortgage is going to go up too as the appraised value on your house goes up or as your insurance goes up. But your mortgage could actually go down if you shop around and if we are in a down market like we are right now. A lot of people's tax appraised value has gone down over the past couple years, which means their mortgage went down. And if you're shopping for insurance, same. So typically rent doesn't go down, but it can go up, and just for no reason. You don't get any extra benefit. So that's real. All right, let's go to the next one.
Do y'all remember when, just like a few months ago, I was behind on my rent facing eviction? Good times, great times. So now I'm all caught up and I pay my rent when it's due, but my landlord doesn't take the money out of my account same day. So the first was Saturday, right? Today is now the 3rd. Tell me why there's still $2,000 sitting in my account and it's not taken out from my rent.
All right, so this is kind of, it may be a little bit of a nitpick, but this could happen if you have a private owner as a landlord and not a property management company. So if you are renting from somebody who just owns the place, they don't use a property manager, then things like this could happen where they take out the rent a little bit later. I like situations where you have to actually go and deposit the rent. That's just me. And also, you never know if they're actually paying the mortgage with that rent money. So that's another thing. Oh, and also it takes a longer process for somebody to foreclose on your house than to evict you. So this lady said she was facing eviction. That process is a lot shorter when you rent. All right, let's see what else we got.
Yo, I really gotta get my own spot. I fucking hate living with roommates. There's nothing more infuriating than putting on a shower cap, getting your towel ready to go take a shower, and someone's in the fucking shower. I'm not taking no shower after nobody. That's disgusting.
Okay, one of the biggest reasons that buying a house is better than renting, in my opinion, is the privacy. So, I think you got to be in that place in life because you can buy a house and have a roommate, but I think you're more likely to have a house that has 2 bathrooms than an apartment with 2 bathrooms. So there's that. This is an interesting one, but I think privacy is still a big reason why you might buy a house, even if you're like in a duplex or an apartment and you can hear people through the walls. Like things like that are a good reason for you to buy your own place. But yeah, if you got a roommate and you only got 1 bathroom, then that could happen if you own a house too. So fair.
This whole you've got to make at least 3 times the rent in order to live here is demonic. And you can't convince me that it's not demonic, that it's not sent from the devil's lair. like straight from the devil. Like he instructed someone or something to request 3 times the rent. These days, getting a place, like renting, is almost as hard as getting a mortgage. And not that they're the same, because I know getting a mortgage is very hard and complicated. It's very arduous. I understand that. But it's very complicated to rent now, too. Back in my day, people used to just go from place to place to place, getting put out, get another place, getting put out, get another place. You can't do that now. And I make a decent amount of money. But by the time you put in 3 times the rent, plus utilities, plus this, plus that, plus the other, like the math is not mathing. It's not adding up.
So, okay, that's a pretty solid point. But I think in order for you to really be comfortable in the place that you afford, I think it is best if you make like 3 times the mortgage. But you can get approved for a house with a debt to income ratio that is higher than this like 33%. But I would say like income requirements on these are actually very similar. So if you got to make the same amount of money to afford it anyway, then I mean, why wouldn't you just get something that you own and then you get to keep a little bit of portion of that money whenever you're paying down your principal. But yeah, having to make 3 times the rent, I think that's tough. A lot of property managers are a lot stricter on those rules than, let's say, a mortgage company would be on those rules. There's a little bit more flexibility to what you can make and get approved for if everything else around the rest of your situation looks good. So if you have extra cash and you have a high credit score, you can, or just depending on the loan type or the down payment, you might be able to get away with a higher debt to income ratio than this kind of like 33%. Even though this 33% does not take into account the rest of the bills that you have. So I think the income requirements are similar. So if you're going to go through all of the headache anyway, then you might as well just own the place.
Okay, y'all, I'm back. So let me finish telling y'all the story. So, like I said, she's like, "Oh, you only qualify for a 3-bedroom," and I'm like, again, yo, I got five kids, bro. Ain't no way, a 3. So I'm like, okay, whatever. And that's not even including now. Keep in mind, yo, I also am finna get married, like, and then so really, it's finna be even more than 5 kids. I'm trying to figure out this method. Y'all let me know how they figured this was finna work. So as I'm talking to the customer service agent, I'm asking, I'm like, what do you mean? How do you figure that whatever, right? I'm asking them how they calculating because it's not making sense to me.
All right. So basically, they're saying they only qualify for a certain amount of bedrooms, which is weird. So that's not something that you would have to face. But also, if you're going to buy versus rent, then there's going to be a bigger selection of homes with different types of floor plans. So you might have your 3 beds, but there'll be a wider selection of 4 beds if that's what you need. So I would say that's kind of weird to qualify somebody based on how many people they have in the house and say you can only have this amount of bedrooms. But yeah, I'm gonna listen some more.
How what? Huh? Now, normally the first thing anybody would think is like, okay, maybe it's the income or something like that. Cause I know it's not the credit. It must be the income. But then I was like, ain't no way. Cause like the house is only like 2,600 a month, and like bringing both. So what? I was trying to figure it out. Invitation Homes, tell me something. Cause what? Then she proceeds to tell me, talking about for each kid, it's a deduction out of my annual income of how much is really left to go into the home for rent. And that's it.
Okay, so they are saying for each kid they deduct an amount for which she can afford for rent. So she might be able to have that 33%, but they're taking a little bit away for each kid. That's kind of crazy, but mortgage does something similar. There, if any like government backed loans are gonna want to know how many dependents you have. Now, I don't know the algorithm they use to determine how that affects your qualification, but they do ask. And they likely will deduct some percentage, even if it's small, for each one of those dependents. I don't know exactly how it's done, but that's a little weird. And just kind of dealing with property managers, period. They're very matter of fact. They feel some of them feel a little entitled and like you need them in that moment. And so it seems like not only is the weird way that they're qualifying her income a problem, but it seems like she's not liking like actually dealing with this person because that person's not really being transparent with her. When it comes to qualifying for a mortgage, the standards are very much uniform across companies. Some have some different standards and practices, but for the most part, they're pretty standard. And this seems like a company policy that is going against what she's used to dealing with. So I would say a good kind of point for possibly buying a home is the fact that the standards and processes are pretty much uniform throughout. Whereas when you're dealing with property management companies, that's somebody's private company and they're going to run it the way they want to run it. So their standards and practices may be a little different. Also, the service level is different. Definitely dealing with a mortgage company versus dealing with a property manager. You will definitely have a better experience with most mortgage companies versus most property managers. There are exceptions to that statement on both sides, for sure. I acknowledge that. So if you think renting is better than buying, you think twice. Both have their pros and cons. The U.S. housing market is a circus at best, for sure, but we're all just out here doing the best we can, right? So definitely some good points here for buying over renting. We talk a lot about the woes of home ownership on this channel, and so I wanted to go and just peep in on how the other side is living. And you know what? It's tough over there too. I saw someone in my comments say, welcome to adulting. And that is just what this is. Like, we're all just kind of growing up in this crazy hyperinflation world, trying to do the best we can. And it doesn't matter to me if you're renting a house or if you're buying a house or whatever, as long as you are happy and living a good life. Okay. And as long as you go watch the next video, that one right there, go check it out. All right. Catch y'all on the next one. Peace.